I'm going to do an hour and a half worth of painting here. And I use the Impressionist approach. I kind of look at nature, look out there, and that nature is what I'm trying to capture. I'm interpreting it. I'm not copying it. You know, if you set up 10 artists here, and we all painted exactly the same thing, each painting would be different, because we all see things in a little different way. And my wife tells me I see more red than other people for some reason. But I came here the other day and looked at this, and it reminded me a little bit of a Monet painting that I knew, or the poplar trees and some of the ones from the Mediterranean and Antibes that he painted through the trees. And it kind of sets up kind of a foil for the marsh in a way. So this is just me painting, but you guys can stand up and walk around and move up here and look at me, my easel, or whatever you like. It's very informal. But I did take the liberty of quickly penciling in a couple of marks here so I sort of know where things are. You know, I encourage my students to do thumbnails, but I rarely do them myself anymore because I can pretty much get things in the right place. How many of you guys are painters? Lots of painters. So I got to be on my best behavior here. Yeah, so I was attracted by the verticals and also the shadows in the foreground, which are getting skinnier as the leaves fall off, but I always use my artistic license when I have to make design work. The most important thing to me is always composition, and then values, and then color and edges and texture. In this one you can see I like diagonals. I like diagonals that sort of repeat in rhythms like music. And this one's called Layers of Time and Space, and it's layers of rock, so geologic time, which is cool when you're standing there in front of these rocks. And, you know, space, dimensional space, so foreground, middle ground, and then distance, and I've got a moon up here, a new moon. So planetary time, wow, this guy's out there. And then the time it takes to paint the picture, which is revealed in the surface. So I've got, you know, I probably went outside and painted on this 7 or 8 times at the same time of day in the morning for about 2 hours each time to get that same light effect. And so I build up the layers of paint pretty thick. I even use a palette knife in places to, you know, cake it on to show that when you look at the picture how the artist actually made it. You can see the marks and the layers of work or effort that went into it. So that's called Layers of Time and Space. But so I won't have a chance to do too much more than just get a good start here today. But I don't really use a medium, but on the first day I tend to thin it out with a little bit of turpentine so I can draw things in quicker and easier. So this is going to be kind of my dominant tree in here. It's like a character, maybe a character on a stage. And I sort of stand back and I'm comparing what I see out in nature. This one come in here, I guess. And I want to get the basic elements of the composition in first. I'm going to lead you out to this hazy blue-green distant hill and shape over there. That's going to be where I want the eye of the viewer to go. The little glinting sunlight on the boats, and you know, right now the tide is pretty high. It was high around 11. there was some blue in here. I might put that in. Those boats are actually going to sink down over the next hour. But, so there's also going to be shadows coming across here. This green guy is overlapping. That's there. So the marsh is so beautiful. It's got all these different shades of green and warm greens and cool greens and little bits of rusty orange. And this is the bottom of these reeds here, which I think are some kind of invasive species probably. The gardener was here the other day, and this is a black walnut tree, so I mentioned earlier, they do fall off.
Yeah, that's true. Make it fun.
And you hear it, so. And I don't have to put everything exactly where it is if it doesn't work for my design. I'm not copying nature, I'm interpreting it and making a picture that will stand up on its own when it's away from the source, from nature. So I'm more interested in making a painting that works as a composition than as, you know, being a slave to nature. So this kind of goes down here a bit. So if any of you have questions, feel free to fire away at any time. This is probably the red that my wife thinks I see too much of. Not actually red, but it's in comparison. When you're painting impressionistically, you're looking at everything in relation to everything else in the scene. So to me, this stuff down here looks red compared to that blue back there, that hazy gray blue back there. So. And these trunks are pretty warm. So that's pretty much the darkest dark in the trunks. Trunks are a little grayer and bluer. This one's thinner and more elegant than this one over here. So those are my basic elements of design here. Always moving pretty fast when you're painting outside. No chance for fooling around here. So I've got a cool and a warm of each primary color. Cerulean blue is cool, French blue, French ultramarine blue, which is warm. Alizarin is cool. I use Windsor red, but similar to Cad yellow, Cad red light, that's warm. Cad yellow light is cool, and these are comparatively, right? So it's not necessarily a cool color, but it's in comparison to the other red, it's cool. This is cool compared to this cad yellow. And then I've got cad orange, ochre, and viridian. Sometimes I have a few other colors, but this is the pared down. This is my basic palette that I use every day. This is a pretty hard thing to do, so anything you can do to simplify it is a good idea, in my experience. So keeping the colors simple and the ones that you know and have tested over time. Sometimes I see another artist use a color and I try it out, and generally I go back to what I've been using for years. And I got this from the Boston School. I studied in Boston with the Boston School painters. Some of you know David Curtis, who studied with Ives Gamble. And I miss Gamble. He died in '81. But I studied with all his students, including David a little bit. But the Boston School is a combination of French academic realism and impressionism. So the Boston School kind of pride themselves on being able to draw and paint pretty much anything, portraits, still lifes, landscapes. We're trained to draw pretty well. You know, the first year is just drawing a white cast in charcoal on white paper. So the paper's next to the white cast. Oh, I got French ultramarine all over me. So you have the paper next to the sculpture, and you stand back. It's called sight size. You stand back 10 yards or so, and you look at the subject, remember it, walk up, draw it, come back, compare it. So you eventually model a really accurate charcoal drawing of a white cast. And, you know, you do that for a year, you really learn how to see form well. And I don't know where this is coming from, so it'll probably come again. So, yeah, the education was really good. It was a 4-year scholarship thing, and the second year was still life. The third year was portraits, and the fourth year was figurative work. Actually, we always did figurative work every Thursday night, but concentrated on figurative in the last year, which is the hardest thing you can do. The highest ideal in art is painting the figure. And we got a lot of art history too, and you know, a lot of good stuff. Mythology. Ives Gammel, if you don't know his work, is a really interesting painter who painted very storytelling, figurative work about all kinds of stuff. Greek myth, allegorical paintings, all kinds of things. Poetry. His most famous painting was a painting of the Hound of Heaven, of a poem of the same name by Francis Thompson, called The Hound of Heaven. That thing is incredible. 18 panels, all figurative, with lots of really wild stuff going on. Definitely worth looking him up online. The Hound of Heaven. So I'm mixing on the fly. I just see what I see out there, and I try to mix the right color. I don't pre-mix anything. I don't use a palette knife. I just try to get it, you know, comparatively the values right. There's a lot more going on. There's greens and stuff out here, but basically it's this, I squint my eyes and look at everything in relation to everything else. It basically looks like this. This is as close as I can get right now, anyway. The goal, I tell my students, in the first 20 minutes to an hour, 20 minutes really, you got to cover up the canvas. The only way to be able to compare all these colors and values is to cover up the canvas. The white canvas is going to throw everything off until you've got it covered up. So the goal is on the first pass here. This is the way I think of it anyway. The first pass, I try to keep the paint kind of thin, and I try to cover up the canvas really quickly, because you can't make the comparisons as accurately when you're thrown off by the brightness of the white paint.
Do you ever tone your canvases, Sam?
I never tone my canvases, no. The Impressionists didn't tone their canvases. That's more of a tonalist school thing. Mm-hmm. And it brings the whole value, the whole overall brightness of a picture down. So you know, we call it keying the color, keying the value. Like in a piece of music, you're going to pick a key to work in, and that will affect the overall tone of the painting.
Sure.
So Corot, you know, I love the early tonalists like Corot, fantastic, absolutely beautiful. Although the MFA has a couple of bad ones, but there's some really great ones. And he kept everything very simple, and his color was very silvery, and there's a tremendous amount of unity in a painting like that. So it can be easier and quicker to use a toned canvas, but if you're after the impressionist look of kind of brightness and color, it's probably not the way to go. There's no right way and there's no wrong way. And generally, people find their own voice, and that's what you should stick to. And painting is kind of like, it's all about preparing for the next thing you're about to do. So everything I'm doing here is pretty much preparing for the next color and next value. Until you get the canvas covered. So this is all way, it's like a, what is that stuff over there? Is that honeysuckle? Honeysuckle?
Phragmites, is that what it is?
Phragmites.
What is it?
Phragmites.
Oh, is it?
Invasive species.
Yeah, there's a lot of them around.
It is, it's invasive.
Well, here's the thing that's brown. People get
What is your green that you just mixed for the reeds?
A little bit of blue, a little bit of green, a little bit of yellow. This green over here is much warmer. And it overlaps. All right, I gotta put the marsh in now quickly. And get the basic overall color and value, and then I'll adjust it and add all the little shifts of color later. And I gotta leave the tops here of kind of a pinky, I don't know what's on top of those reeds, but some kind of like fern brush kind of thing. The streaks of more of a rusty warm green out there, but I'll leave that for now. Maybe not. Can't help myself. More of this, there's more of this. As I say, I'm really just trying to cover up the canvas as quickly as I can.
Sam, can we yell out questions if we?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. This is very informal.
I noticed you've got the canvas vertical, and the other one you're showing us is vertical. Do you like doing vertical work more than horizontal? Or?
These trees dictated the shape of the canvas.
Okay.
To me, it's more like these guys are kind of like the foils and the stars. This one especially, I'm going to make sort of.
So you made
more
that
elegant.
decision as soon as you got here, right?
I did. And I looked at it horizontal, and I changed my mind and was going to go with horizontal, and I changed it to vertical.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'd probably paint more horizontal pictures by far than
Is that right?
vertical. Just happen to be two verticals.
Yeah, I would think so, right?
Yeah. Now I know that this gets a little darker here later, but now this green is very faded in the grass. It's kind of more like this kind of neutral, mossy kind of a green. Put the shadows in on top. Of course, they're going to move a lot as the hour goes up by here. And you put them where they work for your painting. Yeah.
Very close.
Black walnut.
You need a helmet.
The gardener who was here this week said they're really hard to get into. To actually get the
They are.
walnut meat out,
They are.
ridiculously hard, he said.
Yeah.
Gotta be a squirrel.
Squirrels, you know, I don't know why they haven't gathered them up and saved them for winter. Maybe they will.
No, they're all at my bird feeder.
And they like to chuck the walnuts.
Oh, yeah? So, there's a lot of different yellows and greens here. This is an ochre yellow out here on the top of that. A little bit right there.
So Sam, when you go back for multiple
Sessions?
and you have a different time, well, not different time of day, same time, but the sky is different, or the atmosphere is different, there's more water.
Yep.
So how do you stick with that main idea without getting kind of boggled down what's in front of you the next day or the day after that?
Well, I try to go back on the same type of day. And if for some reason I can't, then you just you kind of have to stick with your original vision unless something appears that looks better, and then adjust it and go with the new, better thing that comes up. But
And I suppose you can use your artistic license, right?
whenever possible.
Now, Sam, all you're using right now is turpentine?
Yes. Yep. I don't use any medium. Just if you pile the paint on as you go, you don't really need a lot of medium because the oil, the paint has so much oil in it. Probably going to have a big diagonal here in this shadow, but I may change that later. Just want to cover up the canvas here. The shape of these are pretty great right now. All right, almost covered up. That hazy blue has got a lot going on. There's shadows and light on top of the trees. It's a little bit greener. Shadow underneath here. Put my trees in again. What's that noise?
Sounds like a rifle. Rifle shooting.
Yeah. Oh, is there a gun range down there or something?
Yeah, there is.
Oh.
We're
Oh.
shooting gun
Hey Sam, you ever start with a photograph when you first start so that if you can't get the same light you put in the painting, that you can work off the photograph?
I often take one, for reference, but I rarely use them. I have to use them occasionally, but it's never as good as when you paint from life, in my opinion. I couldn't paint that from a photo at all. It would just not look right because photographs, they don't get the right color. They don't get, the subtleties of reflected light, and bouncy color, and they don't, they flatten everything. But I can do it. Working on a commission right now that's of somebody's property down in Falmouth, and I'm using photos, but I kind of imagine myself, I stand in my studio and imagine myself standing on their lawn looking at the view. So I kind of like mentally project that I'm standing outside, and I just use the photo for, you know, geographic, topographical stuff.